little fairy counterparts.
Rita, your mellifluous voice is sending our fabulous audience too excited. I need them woke, wide awake for this big fat book of fairy tale propaganda I'm trying to instruct.
You know, Colette, Follies are usually this sort of like lighthearted, like joyous thing, and it doesn't always have to be this diatribe against classic
No. I've
fairy
committed to
tales.
this strange lectury angle now. That's the tone. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, but you could just change it right now.
No,
We
but
could
I
just,
can't.
like,
It's
we could
past the
just
point of
turn
no
it.
return. We gotta go back. I love her and she's my wife, but couldn't get rid of her fast enough. She just doesn't understand the gravitas of this situation, the pressures of hosting, the bravery of a truth teller. It isn't easy being a whistleblower and looking so flawless doing it. I paid all of them handsomely to do that. There you go. Speaking of effortless beauty, my goodness, a certain queen was obsessed with it. She had a magic mirror that told her she was beautiful every day. What was this magic mirror like? Let me try to find a contemporary equivalent. Imagine you were so self-obsessed that you spent every day staring at images of yourself for self-validation. It would be a strange world indeed, would it not? Anyways, this queen was very upset because eventually little Snow White grew up to be much more beautiful than her. Her jealousy kept upsetting her, and so she summoned a huntsman and said, "Take the child out into the forest to a spot far from here, then stab her to death, and bring me back her lungs and liver as proof of your deed. After that, I'll cook them with salt and eat them." Again, like the last tale, very petty. You have to respect that. Snow White runs away into the forest and lives with 7 men for a questionable amount of time in a questionable living situation. She swallows a poison apple that the queen feeds to her, and the 7 men she lives with say this: "Snow White is too pretty to be buried underground. Let's put her in a glass coffin where we can look at her forever." And if you're thinking that the creepy male quotient of this story has already been filled, think again. Suddenly, a prince comes riding by, and to prove I'm not making this up, can I have a volunteer to come read this? Yes, come here, darling. Woo! Tell the old good people your name.
Pandora.
Pandora, how does it feel to be a star? Excellent. Well, you're very cute. Let's do this.
You have this like dark fucking shit that When he entered the room and saw little Snow White lying in the coffin, he couldn't get enough of her beauty. Then he read the golden description and saw that she was a princess.
He can read.
So he asked the dwarves to sell him the coffin with the dead little Snow White inside, but they wouldn't accept all the gold in the world for it.
What? Stand up, lads.
Then he pleaded with them to give little Snow White to him as a gift because he couldn't live without gazing upon her. And he would honor her and hold her in high regards as the most beloved in the world. Well, the dwarves took pity on him and gave him the coffin.
Don't worry, Dad's going off with this boy. Nothing triggered, all right.
The prince had it carried to his castle. It was then placed in his room where he himself sat the entire day and couldn't take his eyes off her.
Oh my goodness, let's give a big hand for Pandora! How fabulous. So Pandora, you agree? Yes? You agree this prince is certifiably insane?
Yeah.
Woo! Excellent. That is confirmed when he kisses the dead girl and she wakes up, probably through sheer trauma, which is not a good thing. Yes, darling. Lola.
You're forgetting the best part.
What am I forgetting, darling? Better than a coffin-kissing royal?
Oh God, yes. Well, the prince marries Snow White, and then they invite the queen to their wedding.
Oh, I see. 2 can play the petty game.
Exactly. Now read what happens next.
So then iron slippers were heated over a fire. The evil queen had to put them on and dance in them, and her feet were miserably burned, but she had to keep dancing in them till she danced to death. My goodness.
Now that is some exquisite medieval savagery.
Indeed, Lola. Although I think I'd prefer the fiery dance of death to spending eternity with that prince.
Yes, I mean, I think we can both agree that the boy was a little bit overzealous with his efforts. Just sleeping and creeping.
Just pining and whining.
Just clinging and singing.
Well, it doesn't say anything about singing in the book, Lola.
I know, that was just my way of telling you that I'm gonna sing now.
Oh, all right. Well, don't let me stop you. Give it up for Lola, ladies and gentlemen.
Ugly, I want your disease. I want your everything as long as it's free. I want your love. Love, 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 I want your love. I want your drama, touching your hands. I want your leather-studded kiss in the sand. I want your love. I want your love. I want your love and I want your revenge. You and me could write a bad romance. I want your love and all your lover's revenge. You and me could write a bad romance. Oh, 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 caught in a bad romance. Oh, caught in a bad romance. I want your horror, I want your design. 'Cause you're a criminal as long as you're mine. I want your love. Love, 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 I want your love. I want your psycho, your vertigo stare. I want you never when I'm baby you're sick. I want your love. I want your love. I want your love and I want your revenge. You and me could write a bad romance. I want your love and all your lovers' revenge. You and me could write a bad romance. Oh, God, in a bad romance. Oh, God, in a bad romance. I want your love and I want your revenge. I want your love. I don't wanna be friends. I don't wanna be friends. I don't wanna be friends. Want your bad romance. Want your bad romance. I want your love and I want your revenge. You and me could write a bad romance. I want your love and all your lovers' revenge. You and me could write a bad romance. Oh, caught in a bad romance. Oh, caught in a bad romance. Lola, Lola, want your bad romance.
Lola, darling, that was eerily topical of you.
Yes, I know. I sang it for the McKittrick pool boy on a night that turned out as wet and wild as I expected.
Lola! This is an evening of children's bedtime stories and searing literary critique. You would not be relaying your lewd encounters to these fine people. So let's get martinis later and you tell me all about it, okay?
Of course, Angel. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta, darling. Now on to the main event, that fairy tale standard, Cinderella. Cinderella's stepmother was like, well, there's no contemporary equivalent again, but imagine an influential matriarch, if you will, who pushes her bevy of daughters to become glitzy and famous and run an influential social empire, and I don't know, they have gigantic butts or something. I'm just making this up. That doesn't exist. But if it did, this was them. Prince seeks bride, hosts 3 balls, and despite her oppressive family, Cinderella manages to go to all of these balls. And on the 3rd and final night, this happens. Do we have a volunteer to read this? Oh, come on up, darling. Hello. What's your name? Grace. Grace, give it up for Grace, ladies and gentlemen. Grace, would you do me the great honor to read this?
Sure. Now the prince wanted to know who the strange princess was, where she came from, and where she drove off to. So he had people stationed on the road, and they were to pay attention to her whereabouts. Moreover, he had the stairs painted with black pitch so that she wouldn't be able to run so fast.
Give it up for Grace, ladies and gentlemen. My goodness. So he paints the stairs with pitch so she won't run away. I don't think Cinderella should have wished for a carriage. She should have wished for a restraining order. My God. So one of the golden slippers gets stuck in the pitch. The prince sees it, and he picks it up and decrees, whosoever maidens, blah, 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 ye all fits this foot, fits this slipper, what have you, she shall become my wife forever. And here's the thing, the prince clearly has a foot fetish, right? Because I'm sure there were dozens of people who advised him and said, why don't we just interview the women and ask them what they think? Or someone was saying, won't you just recognize your face if you're in love with her? But he was like, no, we're sticking to this plan. This is the thing that we said we'd do with the feet, and we're going to stick with the feet. So anyways, the craziest part is he's not the weirdest person in this story. The stepmother and stepdaughters cut off their toes and their heels. Yes, I'm right about this. I'm right. Mr. Grimm cuts off their toes and their heels in order to fit in the golden slipper and marry the prince.
Oh no, Colette! I don't think that they did that so they could marry the prince.
Yes. You see, I think, personally, that the 3 of them were just very adventurous dominatrix women that were very, very, very inclined to suffer for their art.
Suffering for their art? How is that any better?
Well, it isn't, but just imagine the exquisite pain of waltzing every night afterwards with that bloody stump for a foot.
I don't want to imagine that at all. I'm still traumatized from Victor's frog incident way back when.
Well, you know what? Tough cookies. We're going to sing about it.
Why am I not surprised?
Another night, another dream, but always you. It's like a vision of love that seems to be true. Another night, another dream, but always you. In the night I dream of love so true.
Just another night, another vision of love. You feel joy, you feel pain, 'cause nothing will be the same. Just another night is all that it takes to understand the difference between lovers and fakes. So baby, I talk to you in the night, in your dreams of love so true. I talk to you in the night, in your dreams of love so true.
In the night of my dreams, talk to me like lovers do. I feel joy, I feel pain, but it's all the same. Cause when the night is gone, I'll be alone.
Another night, another dream, but always you. It's like a vision of love that seems to be true. Another night, another dream, but always you. In the night I dream of love so true. In the night, in my dreams, I'm in love with you. Cause you talk to me like lovers do. I feel joy, I feel pain, cause it's still the same. In the night I dream I'll be alone. Another night, another dream, but always you. It's like a vision of love that seems to be true. Another night, another dream, but always you. In the night I dream of love so true.
Give it up for these ladies! So in essence, you're saying we're all crazy and obsessive? That was the message of that song?
Yes.
Exactly.
It's straight. Yes. Fabulous. Well, Colette, we're going to run off and, rest our weary legs in an absinthe bath. We'll see you later. Bye, girl. My goodness. Woo! I would cut off my own toe for a cold absinthe bath right now, but I'm not going to do it because I've got to finish what I started, and this one is the strangest tale of the pack, all right? Indulge me. Once upon a time, there was a miller who was poor, but he had a beautiful daughter. Now one day he happened to talk to the king and said, I have a daughter who knows the art of transforming straw into gold. Which wasn't even true. Which leads me to think, how does a brassy claim like this even come to be? But it did. The king summons the daughter to his castle, locks her in a room filled with straw, and tells her, if you don't turn this straw into gold by morning, I'll kill ya. But if you do it successfully, you shall become my wife. Can you imagine, ladies? My goodness. Anyway, as the girl is crying, a strange little man appears, and he tells her, I'll do all this alchemy work for you if you give me your firstborn child. The daughter agrees, but once she's wed the king and she's had the child and the little man comes calling, she can't bear to give up her child. So he gives her one out. He'll return tomorrow, and if she can guess his name, the pact is off. But if she can't, he's taking the baby. This is high stakes here, people. We should be very excited about this. The next day, the king, her husband, is riding through the forest, and he passes a small man in the clearing, going, ha, 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 she'll never guess that Rumpelstiltskin is my name. And the king comes home to his wife and is like, hey, I think that guy's name is Rumpelstiltskin. I think we're good. And indeed they were, and that was that. But this whole getting someone to do your work for you thing is the oldest trick in the book. In fact, I can do it too. I can get a magical man to do my work for me. Would you all like to see him? Where are you, mister? There he is. He is magical.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say that someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. Ooh. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one.
Put your hands together for that fantastic gentleman, Caleb, darling. I have to admit, I wasn't even really paying attention because I was so distracted by this Rapunzel nonsense. If you all heard this story. One person. Well, don't spoil it for everyone else. My goodness. So, a pregnant woman has a craving. Pregnancy, that's interesting. Someone should start a company about that or something. Has a craving for an obscure root vegetable. And her husband, who's fabulous, says he'll do anything to get her that craving that she wants. I see how it is, but when I want a Cuban cigar, a dirty martini downstairs is just way too far to go get it. Anyway, a witch discovers him stealing the Rapunzel from her garden and agrees to let him go for, guess what? Do you know what it is? Boom! Say it louder, Philippe. The firstborn. That was a wonderfully legal delivery. The firstborn child. Yes, I think everyone in this book is barren somehow. The firstborn child. And so, having acquired said child, the witch locks her up in a tower, which is only accessible via a rope of human hair. I mean, is that really necessary? Do we all feel that that's necessary? Absolutely. Oh my goodness. It's Edmund, it's Archie, and it's Vincent. I haven't seen you three boys all together since that night we spent with the Rockettes. My goodness. But a protective tower, really?
You clearly don't understand the power a young woman can have on a young hormonal prince.
Yeah, I mean, the poor sap was probably bobbing up and down every day just trying to make eye contact or say hello.
A historical, romantical moment in time that cannot be forgotten.
Please sing to me about it.
Pleasure. Have you met Miss Jones? Someone said as we shook hands, she was just Miss Jones to me. Then I met Miss Jones. Said that you're the girl who understands I'm the type of guy who needs to be free.
And all at once I've lost my breath, and all at once I'm scared to death.
And all at once I own the earth and sky. Then I met Miss Jones, and we'll keep on meeting till we die. Miss Jones and I. Dance break!
This is the dance break. Lost my breath, and all at once I'm scared to death.
And all at once I own the earth and sky. Then I met Miss Jones, and we'll keep on meeting till we die. Miss Jones and I, Miss Jones and I, Miss Jones and I.
goodness, I haven't heard anything that delicious in a very long time. Are you going to take this act on the road? Are you going to call yourselves the Tower Troupe or the Fairy Tale Fellas?
Our fans know us purely as human hair.
It's much classier that way. Look, he's got a sweater built right in.
I thought it was still once you did. I didn't know it.
My goodness. Give it up for those fine gentlemen. Don't you just want to spread them on a cracker? Anyway, let's see. Oh, the Emperor's New Clothes. Let's see. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Let's see. An obsessive narcissistic tyrant endorses an alternate version of reality in order to confirm his own image of himself as clever and successful. We want fiction here, people. Let's go on to something else. What about Hansel and Gretel? Are we okay with that one? A very strange twist in which there's a witch who lives in a delicious house of candy that she could eat whenever she wants, and yet she chooses to eat human children?
I wouldn't think on it if I were you.
Really? They're just crazy?
Well, no, some people are just gluttons for punishment, darling.
Oh, that's very true. Well, why don't you sing about it, Nina Nightingale?
If you insist.
Yeah, I do.
They keep trying to tell me all you want to do is use me, but my answer to all that use me stuff, oh, I wanna spread the news that if it feels this good getting used, you just keep on using me until you use me up. My brother, he sent me right down and he talked to me. Well, he told me that I'll not let you just walk on me, but I'm sure he meant well. But when our talk was through, well, I said, brother, if you only knew, you'd wish you were in my shoes. You just keep on using me until you use me up. Until you use me up now. Get it, Zach. Now I want to get really quiet. Nice and quiet. Take it down. All the way down. Ba, 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 ba. Sometimes it's true, you really spread the news. But if it feels it's good getting used, you just keep on using me until you use me up. Come on and use me up. Ain't no time for using me, 'cause it sure feels good when you do the things you do, the things you do. Come on and use me, use me, use me up. Use me up. Come on and use me up. Come on and use me up. Come on and use. Come on and use me up. Come on. Come on and use me up.
Give it up for Nina Nightingale, ladies and gentlemen. Goodness. Nina, I would chop off my heels to follow you to the ends of the earth. I want to wear your face like a wolf pelt. I don't know. Your voice makes me want to kill myself, but in a friend complimenty way. I don't know. I've gotten weird from reading these. Why am I so obsessed with these old new stories anyway? And what is important about the stories you're going to tell to your children? What lessons are you trying to impart anyway? I know what I need. I need the troll under the bridge. And there's only one man for the job. Joseph! Yes, I did, darling. Obviously, I need you to be the bridge troll.
Why am I obviously the bridge troll?
Because, darling, you're very good with riddles, and we need someone to step it up for the finale. Now tell these good people.
Colette, I think you're concentrating too much on the answer. You should think about the answer, the question. Why did Aunt Beatrice change all the fairy tales for you?
I don't know.
Did you notice that all the female characters are much more interesting?
That's true.
And they're much more fun and weird.
Yes, I like fun and weird. Do you like fun and weird? Well, we've gotten weird tonight. I think we can say that. I think you're right, Joseph. I think if the Follies is about a night of storytelling, I think the most important thing is not to be telling old stories, but to ask new questions.
Exactly.
Now I'm getting it. You're kind of like my fairy godmother, Joseph.
All right.
How many roads must a man walk down before they call him a man? Yes, and how many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head, pretending he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
How many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? How many times can a man turn his head, pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
How many times can a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows
that too many people have died. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Give it up for Joseph Cann, ladies and gentlemen. And I think I know what we have to do. Drum roll, please. Oh, I like that vocal drum roll. Let's do that. But everyone, drum roll, please. We're done with this. I'm using it to light my cigars tonight as I read Virginia Woolf instead. How do we feel about that? Time to write our own stories, and that starts with thanking this wonderful band tonight, the Django Convict Trio. Thanking my true little princess right there, Rebecca. And all the people in this corner that make my life a fairy tale. And a new fairy tale has started with Mr. Christina and Miss Andrew. We're switching gender roles, because that's what we do here at the McKittrick Hotel. Now, sleep well, children, and good night.